Let's check in with the doc and look at things with a wider lens. Pastor Richards on OMG.
All right, I'm going to take this call and see if this is Pastor. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Pastor. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, actually.
Well, that's good.
I got up, really, really early and, just got all my ducks in a row, trying to get all straightened out, trying to be very productive. And I guess I'm a morning kind of person. I'm beginning to discover.
Well, that makes one of us.
Not like those who write in it and tell you that they're just getting up and going for their morning run.
Yes. Some of them are late risers, just getting about to do things.
Good morning, Sylvester and the Grangenes. I hope this Tuesday morning meets you in great health. And good morning to the rest of our listeners, wherever you are. Always a privilege and a blessing to have this opportunity to comment on things and share things with you, and I really appreciate it. Not everyone agrees with me, and that is understandable. That's a given. But even so, when people disagree with me, some of them actually share why they disagree with me, and I learn a lot. I keep saying, Danny, listen to people, not just those who are in your choir, who are singing your praises and telling you did great, but sometimes, in fact, when I lead, I tell people, don't pay so much attention to the praises, pay attention to the criticism, because that's where you learn. That's where you really learn. Pay attention to criticism and figure out how to improve, and so that's a little mantra of mine. Oh, by the way, no stories today.
No stories?
No stories. I found out, Daniel, that people love my stories with the lion in the street. That was from the Bible, the guy who stayed home and said, I'm not going to work. There's a lion in the street. I'm not going to work. And then what were the other stories I told? Trojan horse story. There's the horse, the elephant, and the cat. And there was another story that I told. Can't quite remember it now.
But you've told a few.
Yeah, quite a few stories, but none today. Oh, by the way, Mr. Weeks, I listened to you and I heard you commend what I did on Thursday, talking about the direction that we should be going and evaluating and analyzing the basis for which direction. For those who missed that, it was whether or not you should move towards a direction of keep pushing towards shelter in place and stay home and lock down, or keep pushing the pendulum in the other direction towards responsibly, I remember saying that word, responsibly, seeing how you could get back to optimal functionality. And so I thank you, Mr. Weeks, for that. Also, this morning, for those of you who listened, Jerry, I thought that Jerry was very, very thought-provoking in the number of things. And again, let me say this, sometimes I listen to the comments that come in after Jerry's commentary, and people, I don't know if you separate the person from the commentary, but some people just want to, and even when you disagree with him, at least he brings some facts to the table, and you might have a different perspective on those facts compared to him, but at least you need to, if you're going to challenge him on the facts, and then if his facts are disputable, let it be known. But if his facts are not disputable, then you can challenge him as to why you have a different take on the facts compared to him. So again, I listened to Jerry this morning, and he put a number of things on the table that made me think. And I think, sometimes I don't really have a set thing I want to say. But this morning, and Jerry, I'm going to need your help. So tomorrow you're going to have to come on and brush up and clean up what I say today, because
I'm sure he would.
Yeah, he has more expertise in what I'm about to say. He has way more expertise and experience, and he can do a better job. But I'm going to start the discussion going, because we are talking about, and I heard you posit the question earlier today about what do we do? What direction do we move? How can we open up? What's going to happen to tourism? What's going to happen to our country? So the big question really is, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And truth is, no one knows, but everybody seems to think it's not going to be good. It's not going to look good. What is about to happen? Part of our problem with the COVID or coronavirus is the fact that we are not appreciating the heterogeneity, differences among nations, countries, and even within countries, pockets within countries. And we have this homogeneous position, this homogeneous take, sameness, this whole sense that the experiences, regardless of your country and your location, your climatic or temperature conditions, we have this prevailing take of that this thing should be approached in a homogeneous manner, meaning every place is the same, every risk is the same, every situation is the same, and therefore every approach needs to be the same. Now, frankly speaking, if there was this level of homogeneity between, say, Britain and China and USA and the Caribbean, then I could understand us taking similar approaches, even same approaches. But you have such heterogeneity with respect to government, how government is conducted, how social life is structured, variables like that, and even the invariables such as your population clusters or urbanization, which is a significant factor. The New York, for example, experience with the subways and transportation is another variable there, with subways for transportation packed. I mean, I've traveled on the subways there, so I know the stations, how they are. But that's not the experience, for example, I have when I'm in Missouri, or when I'm in Florida, or when I'm in Texas, or Georgia. It's different altogether. So they're not a homogeneous whole, different. And so the risk factors are different. When I'm out in Hamby, Texas, I don't have all these massive malls to go to as compared to when I'm in Richardson, Texas. So it's just very, very different. And therefore, what's the point you're asking? I know you're asking what's the point I'm making. I'm saying that if our conditions were cookie cut and similar or even the same, homogeneous, that's the word I use, as other countries, then their approaches would have been quite appropriate for us to pattern and copy, or as Vincent would say, follow fashion. But it's different. We are different. And I keep saying this, we are different. We are different in a number of ways that affect, and even in the United States, they're grappling with this. Because of their heterogeneity, that's why you had 32 states opening up and others not opening up, some extending the shelter-in-place order, because every single place has variables that make them different. And we have to appreciate the fact that here in St. Vincent, here in the Caribbean, we do have some variables and some nuances that would inform, listen to me carefully, it's true, we have nuances that will inform our approach to the coronavirus. It is really foolhardy to say, oh, this is what is done in Britain, or this is what is done in New York, so this is what should be done in St. Vincent. That's really a foolhardy approach. You have to bear in mind what your conditions are and respond accordingly. I've spent enough time on previous programs nuancing some of the differences that we have here in St. Vincent. Please, if you're listening to me, I'm not advocating irresponsibility or a cavalier approach or being irresponsible in any way, shape, or form. I am just saying that our situation should dictate our approach. All right, having said that, the next thing that I want to say, I am amazed at the level of readiness. I mean, they were ready. A lot of countries, they were ready for this from a technological point of view, and this is where I'm going to need Jerry to help me. I mean, Jerry, they were ready. I mean, they were. I keep saying I'll come back to Bill Gates in a little bit, but and the word I keep using, one of my favorite words, and the reason why I use the word prescient is because I don't want to give way to conspiracy theories. So I just say, boy, them guys really knew something was coming, and they have a keen sense of insight that they could see things before they happen. So that's all I'm going to say. No conspiracy theories, right? But how prescient and aware they were to be so technologically ready. It's amazing me how ready they were for the alterations in education, how you do education, how you do entertainment, how you do business, how you do all of your social interactions. This world is being reshaped. This world is currently being reshaped out of this dilemma. And again, no conspiracy theory. I am not saying any kind of intentionality here, but I said a few weeks ago, this crisis is not going to waste. It's not, a crisis is there, but the crisis is now capitalized on to reshape this world for better management. And smart people are realizing it. I'll come to that. I'm not just talking dandruff off the top of my head. Smart people are realizing here is an opportunity to reshape this world for better management. I have my facts. And so because of that, and in light of the fact that this world is being reshaped, I am amazed at how ready they were for the reshaping. Whether it was going to be in education or entertainment or in business or in social interaction, the readiness. I mean, the preponderance of cameras and drones and digital policing, that is at a level. Just not the last occasion, but before that, when I was in the United States, I was in Georgia, went over to Texas. Just bear with me, and I'm going back over to Georgia. 812 miles trip or something like that. So I got up real early in the morning, 5 o'clock. I'm going to head out. I'm going to steam because I'm looking at 12 hours on the road. So 5 o'clock, I'm like, man, I no traffic, like nothing stopping me this morning. I mean, I'm not running the red zone, but I'm going through an intersection. There's an 18-wheeler in front of me. And I was like, it's a yellow. The lights are yellow. I'm like, okay, I'm making this. So I got in behind the 18-wheeler. Boy, I never realized that they take such long left turns. By the time that 18-wheeler is through the intersection, the yellow has turned red. Cool, no cops on the road, nothing. So I'm good to go. I made it back over to Georgia, didn't get pulled over along the way or whatever, made it. About a week later, so a few days later, in the mail comes this ticket with my number plate, with a picture of me running a red light. I'm in Texas, and I'm getting that in Georgia. And that was some time ago, but my point is the technology is in place to police people, whether by cameras and drones and stuff at intersection in every city that I go to. Everywhere, you're always on camera wherever you go. They were ready. That's already in place. Even when it comes to food, Grubhub, some of you are familiar with Grubhub, and other apps. These were not created because of coronavirus. They're already in place. The apps for people to order home are already in place. We've got to understand this. Online shopping, I mean, that's a given. People can do their online shopping. It's just stay in their home, stay in their pajamas and do online shopping. PayPal is ready. Amazon, delivery service, all the things that are needed now during this shelter-in-place, lockdown, movements restricted, all of these things are ready. There is a high degree of readiness. Telemedicine has not been notched up. Those of you who follow telemedicine and understand what that is, again, Jerry, update us tomorrow. But telemedicine, where you don't have to visit a doctor for every single thing, but there are a lot of screenings, a lot of stuff is done because of where the digital world is. They already, digital monitoring of health is a given. They were ready for this. Now that it is needed, the capacity was already created for this. Zoom and for social interaction, and meetings Edmodo, which is a big thing now in education. That was not developed last week when the pandemic hit us. These things were already there. So I am amazed that everything practically everything, technologically speaking, and I'm going somewhere with this. Technologically speaking, everything that is basically necessary for the new reshaping in terms of education and the new reshaping in terms of entertainment, the new reshaping in terms of how you do business. You can stay and order and things get dropped off. Amazon hired 75,000 new persons, or about to hire 75,000 new persons because their business is going to boom. Things are in place. The world is being reshaped for better management. Here's what concerns me in all of this. And we have to consider when we make our responses here in the Caribbean, we have to consider. When I said the world was ready, I did not tell you some parts of the world were really ready for this. The main issue as we move into this new era, we are going to realize, Jerry, help me tomorrow, please. We are going to realize how wide the digital divide is. And that's going to be a problem. The digital divide is going to determine the readiness and response and effectiveness of some countries in dealing with this. Technological revolution and what's happening in technology is going to be a big, big player in terms of how the world operates and how the world looks going forward. And St. Vincent's readiness to engage and be a part of this new milieu is going to be determined by this very matter I'm talking about. In some countries, for example, you have excess capacity. The capacity in terms of the apps and the structures have already been built in and not prior to this had not been fully utilized. And whether it's an opportune thing or not, what I am saying is that this has forced countries now to maximize and utilize the capacity that they already had. It's like you rented, they had a huge mansion, technologically speaking. And for the greater part of the past couple of years, they have been living in the basement only and have not explored the patio and the swimming room and the pool room and the man cave and all of that. And so you have a mansion, but technologically speaking, but you have been living in the basement, but now you are forced to utilize Edmodo and Grubhub a little bit more. You are forced to utilize Samsung Pay and PayPal and other pay apps. You are forced to utilize telemedicine, digital monitoring. You are forced to use Edmodo and Zoom. You are forced to utilize the capacity that's already been there. But the good thing is that it's there for some countries. It's in place for some countries, but some other countries have a deficiency in this. They don't even have the capacity. I am thinking that's where we are in St. Vincent. Either that there's a deficiency. I am not hitting at our network provider, but we have a digital divide in terms of devices per capita here in St. Vincent. Come on, we do. We have a discrepancy if we compare to other countries that are making this transition. They're ready for it because their devices per capita, whether it is iPad or iPhone or computer, desktop or laptop, the preponderance that they have compared to us here in St. Vincent, there's a digital divide. So we have a deficiency there, and even when we have the devices in terms of service and service provision, you're trying to do classroom, for example, and every 2 seconds, internet Wi-Fi is dropping. So the reliability, the speed, the broadband services, and Jerry, I'm going to need your help tomorrow. Please help me out, okay? I'm treading in deep waters where I can't swim. The broadband, but I know what I'm talking about from the sense generally that these are things that you try to stream a service, or you try to, and people complain, I'm not getting it's dropping out, or this or that. We are not ready. So while some countries are ready for this transition digitally and from the technological perspective, we are not ready. Further to that, and what is even exacerbating this is the fact that the kind of reshaping that is needed in this world and transition that is needed in this world in this post-COVID era to do education and entertainment and business and all of that, it requires a kind of approach to technology and to digital awareness and all of that I don't know that we are quite ready here for in St. Vincent. Now, the demographics of the younger part of our population get this. Children 2-3 years can maneuver through all of the apps better than an adult who is 60 years old. But there's a cultural shift that needs to take place to accommodate this new direction that the world is going. I talked about it for example, in education, where I said, look, teachers are still more comfortable with chalk and blackboard or marker and marker board than maneuvering through online provision of education. Teachers are really struggling. I listen to them. They have a hard time. They're frustrated dealing with Edmodo or whatever other services they're using. And why is that so? Because the cultural shift has not been made. People are more comfortable going to the bank and doing business. People are more comfortable going to the stores and buying something rather than, doing the paying bills online. Or they're suspicious if I put my credit card in or if I put my debit card in, X or Y can happen. So where other countries are in terms of utilizing technology to shape their everyday life, we are not there. So when I hear people saying, other countries are doing it, other countries have capacity, other countries have the devices, other countries have the network efficiency. These things are critical. Other countries have made a cultural shift, and therefore they can do it. But we can't treat ourselves as being homogenous. I go back to where I started. We can't treat ourselves as being homogenous with other countries. There are things here that will dictate, and particularly because technology is such a big player, there are nuances related to our technological reality, that will dictate the ease with which we do what other countries are doing. Lastly, I have to say this. I inserted in my commentary this morning that the world is being reshaped for better management. Here is something that troubles me. I'm aware of where we are going. I am aware we have no choice. And that's why I said Jerry's presentation this morning was, he really, in his presentation, he said, a lot doesn't depend on us, really, A lot depends on the protocols and stuff elsewhere that we have to, sign on to. There are going to be protocols elsewhere. A trial run we saw after 9/11, where after the Twin Towers was smashed and everything, that there were some things that happened with air travel and other security matters that affected not just the USA, but affected the rest of the world, had to come in line. Things happen after every crisis. Bill Gates made a reference on Friday evening while he was on the coronavirus town hall with Anderson Cooper and Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Bill Gates said something that made and I don't have a lot of hair on my head, but every strap it raised up. He said, and he was right, following World War II, the world was not the same. Fact. I'm a student of history, so I know that fact. A lot of conventions were developed, a lot of protocols or things that nations had to agree to. NATO, again, out of that kind of thinking. The UN and a lot of the sub-departments and sub-institutions within the UN came out of that for better world management. The people who wanted to prevent any further such crisis in this world, the thinkers and the planners, really, through their power broken, were able to significantly reshape the world such that Bill Gates said this shall never happen again. And he's right. Thinkers, power brokers, and people will reshape the world after the crisis. And the way the world looks and the way the world operates will depend primarily on how these power brokers say the world should operate. True. That's it. He said it, and it's true. The parallel to that would be the globalists, Bill Gates included in that. And what scared me and made me think is a statement that he made this same Friday night last week, drawing reference to what happened after World War II and how the world was redesigned and reshaped for better management. He is saying this is going to happen. It blew me away. He said this is going to happen again after COVID. And the chilling remark he made, and you listen to me, and I'm not going to make it up. He said, I and others already have the blueprint. Think about that. Think about that. He said, I and others already have the blueprint. There's a way this world is going to look, and it's not going to be accidental. There's a way this world is going to be reshaped, and it's not going to be by happenstance. This world, post-COVID, is going to be reshaped for better management. And the reshaping will impinge and have repercussions for every aspect of our lives. But we are not going to be the ones who will reshape and rethink how the world will look. There are those, call them globalists or call them what you want. There are those who, according to Bill Gates, and these are the unmentioned those. And a lot of times, as happened with World War II, you never know who the real thinkers and ideologues are behind what's happening in your world. But they are there. He didn't call names, but he did say, we have the blueprint for how this world will look post-COVID. It's being reshaped marginally. It's being reshaped every day. Drip, 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 drip. With all of the technological changes, with all of the changes in how you do education and entertainment and business and social life, this world is being reshaped. It is being reshaped for better control, but according to whose dictates? The ones who have the blueprint. Give some thought to this. Jerry, help me out tomorrow, please. Take care.
Thank you so much, Pastor, for your contribution today.
All right, take care, man.
Let's check in with the doc and look at things with a wider lens. Pastor Richards on OMG.